So Mark, we've been in the business for 20 plus years combined and done a bunch of real estate transactions. And I think the purpose of us creating this video series was because we run into the same sorts of conversations and surprises, frankly, that people have regarding how to buy a house in North Carolina. And I think we wanted to bring some clarity to that process and some of the terminology and concepts that we think are most important. And this isn't just our first-time buyers either, right? Like, it's our buyers that are they have a house to sell, and they're surprised that there's not a contingency in the contract for us to sell our home, or maybe it's people coming from another state who are just used to a very different process.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part of that is to understand our concept of due diligence period, due diligence fee, and how that functions within the home buying process. It's jarring to a lot of my clients when they understand that they're going to have to deliver a sizable, non-refundable due diligence fee when their offer is accepted.
Right.
Now that does give them some substantial rights within the contract. Namely, they can terminate at any time for any reason or no reason.
Sure.
They can just wake up and decide, this isn't the house for us, and withdraw. Now, they do lose the due diligence fee, of course, but that's the big part of it, and it's especially for folks coming from out of town, other states,
who are used to having a bunch of contingencies built in.
Absolutely.
And this is their contingency, right?
This is the one contingency to take care of all contingencies,
right.
whether
the mother of all
financing or you have a home to sell, and appraisal,
inspections,
all of those rolled in together. So in a sense, it simplifies it, but it's tough for a lot of folks that aren't used to it to wrap their heads around the concept.
The non-refundability piece of it is what really catches folks off guard.
Yeah, that's it.
And the other thing that I think people find really surprising is how North Carolina real estate law is set up to be a buyer beware state, meaning sellers have no legal obligation to disclose anything about their home, right? And so buyers are therefore tasked with this responsibility of discovering anything about the home that would preclude them from wanting to buy it, right? And I think that is difficult for some. Particularly, when they're first touring a house and understanding, like, well, am I going to be able to put an addition on this home? Am I going to be able to put a pool in the backyard, right? Like, there's just a lot of things that I think in other places the seller would be obligated to provide certain details and information that they're not here.
Sure, and that's probably the second most jarring thing to a lot of folks, is that there's no obligation to disclose. And I think that's where we step in with the experience of working hundreds of transactions and knowing exactly what to look for, what red flags. We can guide them through everything from the home inspections being taken care of to researching the HOA. In fact, these are all things that are being taken care of within that due diligence period that we talked about earlier. The attorney is doing title work, surveys are getting ordered, just everything, all these wheels are in motion during that due diligence period.
Yeah. And so, it can be painted in a negative light, but there is positive components of this, in that the buyer is the only one contractually who can cancel the contract, right? And so they do have a leverage hammer, we'll call it, in that there's no contractual ability ability for the seller to cancel that contract. So the buyer is the one who wields that power once they've put it under contract. Now, depending on market conditions, that leverage can be watered down a bit, we'll say, right? Like if you're making an offer and it's one of 5, or, you know, as we've seen in the past, 10 or more offers on that property, the due diligence fee is so high. In order to secure the property, you effectively eliminated that leverage.
Yeah,
right?
you have no negotiating power when the seller knows you have a huge due diligence fee that's theirs regardless. So yeah, and early in the process, we talk about that and the effect that the desirability, the competitiveness around an individual property will affect how we structure our offers and what our expectations are relative to the size of the due diligence fee, certainly the purchase price. So all of those things have to be taken into consideration early in the game.
Yeah, and I think we're really just kind of scratching the surface here. But the goal was just to get folks an idea for when they hear these terms, they've heard it before, and they've got at least a baseline understanding of what to expect as the process evolves. And I think as we continue this video series, we'll try and walk them through from this early point in time where we're just kind of getting folks familiar with the terminology and the process to, well, what happens next? What are we doing once we actually start looking at homes and we're touring those homes? While the buyers are kind of looking at the bells and whistles, we've got certain things that we're looking for as well, right?
Yeah, they're looking at the bells and whistles and the floor plans, and we're making notes relative to what particular area and maybe the soil conditions are in that area, deferred maintenance.
The era the house was built.
You know, era the house was built and considerations related to that. And I think it's going to be illuminating for a lot of folks, and I'm really excited to get to it.
Yeah. And so whether people were going to, go with a different agent or go at it themselves or hire us, hopefully this video series will help give them sort of a head jump and, be better off for it. So
they'll be better prepared.
Yeah. Looking forward to the next one.
Let's do it.
All right. See ya.